Entertainment Tonight, the most watched entertainment news program in the world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Entertainment Tonight. I'm Maggie, and this is Alicia, and we will be your hosts for tonight's segment. And Alicia, what a roller coaster of a ride it's been this week. Am I right?
For sure, Maggie. Our neighbors down south like to call us polite and boring, but man, do we have some tea to spill. And get excited because a treat for all of our viewers, the man of the hour, Pierre Trudeau himself, will be sitting down with us later for an exclusive interview.
Yes, very excited for that. But first, we have news on the protest concerning Aboriginal rights that began this morning that is still going on right now.
Our reporter on the scene has the most recent updates on the protest.
Reporting live on the scene of this year's largest protest for indigenous rights. We're here with Frank Calder, the first Aboriginal elected to Canadian legislator. So Frank, why did you decide to organize this protest?
Well, this protest is really the accumulation of our frustrations toward the government for their lack of support, forceful extradition of our lands, and mandatory assimilation, which we believe is not fair.
And what do you hope to achieve through this movement?
Well, we hope to achieve that through this peaceful protest, that our voices be heard and our rights be recognized, because we are the first settlers of this land and we deserve to be treated as equals.
That is very inspiring indeed, and we send you all our support. Now back to Maggie and Alicia.
Wow, what a riveting story. This just shows how we often forget to stop and think about those with different cultures from us.
Yep, I absolutely agree. There's nothing more powerful than the empowerment of an oppressed group of people. Which brings us to our next story. The next group we will be talking about makes up half of the world's population. That's right, I'm talking about women and their increasingly important role in today's society.
In fact, the National Action Committee of the Status of Women is currently in the streets right now, outside the Parliament of Ottawa, protesting for the rights. I think we have another one of our reporters on the scene with a member of the committee.
I'm here with Miss Betty Friedan, the author of The Feminine Mystique, the best-selling novel about the oppressed gender role of women in society. She is a true pioneer of women's rights, and for our generation, and a true visionary. Miss Friedan, why are women's rights so important right now?
Well, during the war, women proved themselves to have the capability to run and foster an entire nation whilst the men fought bravely in the battlefield. We were driving the economy here at home, laboring arduously every day to ensure that our troops had the resources to win. We are more than what society has labeled us to be, and that is represented here as we gather among female politicians, leaders, athletes, scientists, and artists. We will not stop struggling until we are treated as equals.
Wow, that is very admirable indeed. Obviously, the recent Omnibus Bill has allowed for some major changes to the rights of women. So why is there still some resistance despite these new reforms?
Although we are thankful that the government has finally issued a bill that acknowledges our rights, there is still so much more that needs to be done. Trudeau may have legalized abortions, but we believe that they should not only be legal, but available as a safe and accessible option to every young woman in this country.
I couldn't agree more. While we may have come a long way with the development of women's rights, there is still so much more that needs to be done. Thank you, Ms. Friedan. And now let's head back to the studio with Maggie and Alicia.
What a fantastic story. I read her book and I must say it is quite incredible. Now on to a story that hasn't had quite a positive reception from the people.
Yes, and I think I know what you are talking about, Alicia. The youthquake is now upon us. Pop culture and certain styles very distinct from the past are flourishing in the mainstream. Some view this as a positive cultural shift, but many others see this as a strike against Canadian culture.
In downtown Vancouver, we have one of our reporters reporting live from the scene.
I'm here in downtown Vancouver, and as you can hear behind me, the youth are taking over. Here I am joined by a self-proclaimed so-called hippie named Gustavo.
Yo, Canada, what's up?
So, Gustavo, tell me about this whole youthquake phenomenon.
Yeah, of course. So we're all like all the boys. We're inspired by the Beatles, and everyone just want to look like Paul. You know, we got longer hairs, we're growing it out, and all the girls, they just wear shorter skirts. So it's all about freedom of expression. We just want to show that we're young, wild, and free.
That's definitely interesting. What do you hope to achieve with this new youth movement?
Well, we just want to show that our voice matters, like being silent. We refuse to be anything but loud and unapologetic. We're opinionated and proud of it. Society's just going to have to deal with it and accept us for who we are. We're not these uneducated kids that they make us to be. We might be young, but we got dreams too. We just got to keep it real, you know what I'm saying?
Yep. Let's bring it back to Maggie and Alicia.
Peace.
Kids today, what can I say? They do make some good points though. Education has made our youth more aware of current issues. Their voice should be valued too.
Well, let's just hope my kids aren't that crazy one day. But you're right, as we progress as a nation, we must learn to accept and love people who don't fit what society deems the norm. This is very much the case with the gay rights movement. With the recent passing of the omnibus bill, homosexuality between consenting adults has been legalized, an amazing victory for the LGBTQ couples everywhere.
And an amazing feat for the people of Canada. To celebrate, a small pride parade is being held in Vancouver right now, and we have our reporter on the scene. Over to you.
I'm here with Casey and Tracy. They're openly gay individuals who are very ecstatic about the new legalization of gay marriage. So, how do you guys feel about the omnibus bill being passed?
Well, I for one am absolutely thrilled. I mean, my girlfriend and I have been waiting our entire lives for this. I mean, we were always scared to show off our love in public in case we got arrested, but now we can finally express ourselves freely.
Wow, what a wonderful, tremendous story there. That's great to hear. So, you guys are obviously both in favor of the bill. What are your thoughts on the new Prime Minister and his social changes?
I think Trudeau is doing an amazing job as Prime Minister. This kind of leader is what we need, especially now that the war is over and our economy is improving. We are definitely very supportive of his actions.
That's great. Happy Pride Day, and back to you, Megan and Alicia at the desk.
That was some powerful content. Vancouver is looking so colorful right now. Now, all of these social changes have a common denominator. Can you guess what that is?
Yes, our very own Prime Minister Trudeau himself. And now we have a special segment from the very man who we were lucky enough to get the chance to sit down with.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Trudeau. We know you're a busy man.
It's my pleasure. I am honored to be on this show.
The introduction of the policy of multiculturalism has been a ray of hope for all ethnic groups here in Canada. What is the rationale behind this policy?
For so much of Canada's history, minority groups and women have been ruthlessly discriminated against by their fellow Canadians. Honestly, it's time for us to put aside our differences and really come together as a country. We are home to a diverse group of cultures, and it is time to acknowledge everyone for who they are and not who we want them to be.
We totally agree. The next question we have for you is, what hope do you want to achieve by passing the omnibus bill?
The goal is obviously to reduce inequality in this country, giving women more control over pregnancy, and the first step is increasing their rights. And legalizing homosexuality is yet another step towards the ultimate goal of a free and equal country.
Thank you so much for your insights and for coming here today. We really appreciate it. He really is brilliant. His actions in the office have shown just how much progress Canada has made, both socially and economically. Change is inevitable, but luckily for Canada, we seem to be right on top of it.
Oh, definitely. Thank you to all our guests, our interviewers, and Mr. Pierre Trudeau. This brings us to the end of our episode. Good night, everyone, and we will see you again tomorrow for more exciting news.